Hello. Um, I'm going to answer the questions to the best of my knowledge, and I'm going to incorporate a lot of psychology knowledge and theory to back up the evidence. If we are going to use my credentials to that, my doctorate is on educational social psychology. So it falls into the psychology that analyzes the social impact and the context the person lives, in the way they're educated, and the way they are learning behavioral norms. However, as a science person, I have incorporated a lot of biological components and the biology of the brain. When I started neuroscience, and cognitive neuroscience was not so advanced when I finished, I have incorporated within my research cognitive neuroscience components. This is the introduction. I'm sorry I'm not typing this for you, but we need to keep the norm of the interview. We pretend that this is a face-to-face interview, and we're going to have follow-up questions or clarifying questions, if you want, in the same manner. So probably it will take not longer for you to get that transcribed, but you can transcribe the key points of the interview, yes, and you can change in your own words. Some things, if you want to have them correctly or directly quoted, you can just rewind this video and you can type down the excerpts of this speech. So to start with, your first question is explain if the brain training applications enhance neuroplasticity. And I'm not going to say my view, I'm going to say my knowledge, to the best of my knowledge, and to the research I have been exposed to. Okay. I'm going to type some comments here, so you will be able to see the line of argument and you will understand what we're saying. It's elementary to understand what neuroplasticity is. So neuroplasticity is a trendy term to explain the old idea of the building dendrites. Building dendrites is the skill of the brain to myelinize. What is myelin? Sorry. Building dendrites means myelinizing brain cells. If you see a brain cell outside of the action, there is a white thing, a cover, which is similar to the white plastic covering the electrical cables. So the action is connecting the soma of the brain cell with the dendrites at the end. Okay. Dendrites are this tree-like ending of the brain cell. These dendrites are connecting each brain cell with the other. So myelin is the cover, is the protector, is the white matter, not grey matter, is a white matter substance that covers and protects actions. So, myelinization means that every time the same connection is happening, every time the brain is using the same connection, the myelin becomes thicker and thicker and thicker, and that means that the memory becomes stronger and stronger and stronger. Now, neuroplasticity means that you may have never learned something in the beginning, but by practicing and repeating and memorizing and learning again, the neurons have the plasticity to learn on the way. That was the initial theory behind neuroplasticity. And because of this ability of the brain or the neurons, if you have unlearned something, if you have brain damage, or you have a stroke, or something has gone and these connections, this myelinization route has been damaged, the brain has the ability to connect through another route. Imagine that you have a road to go from Elizabeth to the city, and that's the main north road. But one day there's a traffic jam, a stroke for the brain. So it is not able to use that myelinized already route, the habituated, learned route. What the brain can do, slowly by again a learning process and again memorizing, can find a different way. So it can go from Elizabeth to Golden Grove, and from Golden Grove follow the lower northeast and then Portrush and go to Glenalga. So this is the way that neuroplasticity is working. Now, to make sure that the brain is working on the latest potential, on the top potential, in the recent years, in the last 10 to 5 years, I remember Lumosity started in 2008, they have created applications and games which they're calling brain training games, and if you play Lumosity, if you play other games, they try to skill people in paying attention, so identify these, or memorizing things, or quick recall. And all of these are ways we use traditionally in psychology to identify the quick recall and the memory has already occurred in the brain. So, by brain training, you learn the ways you will solve the problem, and if you get into a familiar problem, you will solve it quicker. Imagine example of a math problem. The first time you solve it is hard, the second time it's easier, the fourth time you repeat it, it's there. And the theory says that you have to chunk your experience and your learning in components, step 1, step 2, step 3, and also you need to repeat it 5 times. If you repeat it 5 times, it becomes a memory. So, and because you have already given the enough attention time to go to the back of your long-term memory, the back of your mind in the long-term memory. So this is why and how brain training applications can enhance neuroplasticity, because they train the brain to think in a certain way and train the person to think that I know the way I'm memorizing. So actually they train them on how to memorize. They train them on how to chunk information. They train them how to problem solve. That's it. So they can sew to the brain in the cognitive way. So the brain knows, is thinking the way he can solve the problem. He applies previous skills, applies previous experience. And this is how it works. It's no different the way we are teaching things or the way primitive people were teaching back then. Just now they call new, use new terms, neuroplasticity. Back then was becoming from apprenticeship a master. So the answer is yes. The short answer is yes, and all the previous is why. The second question is, what influence does an individual's environment and their behavior have on their neuroplasticity? I think the question should be addressed in the same way like the previous question. Neuroplasticity, that's how you have to interpret that in your mind and understanding. Neuroplasticity is the way we have trained the brain to think, consider, problem solve. So, if you live in a certain environment, which environments ask you to use obedience and compliance with the group norms, so this individual's environment will teach them compliance, and the behavior of these people, therefore, it will be compliance and obedience. They will be trying to be like you, harmonic, and wait, and listen to respect the elders, and all these things. Another culture, like my culture, is promoting individuality. The previous culture, the Eastern cultures, the Asian cultures promote, as you know, harmony and group work. My culture, Greek culture, promotes individuality. And it's something that I have learned from my individual family, extended family environment, and probably from my genes. So my behavior is built, and my neuroplasticity, therefore, the way my brain has worked, it's built on being individual, trying to be the leader in your own team, trying to bring new ideas, try to sign the others out. And this is why Greeks are like 10 million, but they are very loud, they're very vocal, they sound huge, as if they are millions. So yes, the individual's environment and their behavior plays a huge role in building their first attitude. Yes, their first behavioral patterns and the way the brain is thinking. However, based on neuroplasticity, if this person goes to another context and lives there and needs to comply with the norms of the new group, of course, this person will know how to adjust to the norms and behave the way they want him or her to behave in that environment. What will be the normal there? We call it normalization. So, neuroplasticity means that your environment is building a certain you, but because of your brain's capability to change, you in a different environment could be adopting to the new requirements. Of course, that means you haven't forgotten the ones you have been exposed to all these years. So you will create a third you. You will be in between. You will have your Greek self, as I do, and I'm acting like this in my home. You have your Australian self, but you're not there. You're going in towards there because I don't know the Australian norms as yet. So I'm in the process, I'm in between. Sometimes I have Greek ways and eruptions of my Greek character that budging in because my neuroplasticity hasn't completed. The function of my brain to learn the new modes is not completed. So I need to be very thoughtful. I need to be very controlling on the ways I'm behaving, like in a formal meeting, so everything. When I'm upset though, when I am stressed, I'm always going back to the things my strong me-analyzed ways of my mind have been trained all these years. So I'm meaning that when I'm angry and upset, I'm reacting in a reflex way with those norms and behaviors I've been trained. And it's not only me, it's a theory. People, migrants who work in stressful environments, they need to, in stressful times, they need to go and speak to themselves, or they speak in their minds, in their own language, to relax themselves in a stressful situation. You, as a bilingual person, probably you understand what I'm talking about. So the question here should be better how neuroplasticity can help the individual or influence the individual to adjust to environments and adjust their behavior. Yeah, I hope you understand it now. Now, I'm going back and correct that was the question 2. Okay. Question 3. Do genetic factors influence neuroplasticity? When we discuss about genetic factors, one thing that comes into psychology is the way the brain parts are created and made due to genes. Okay, that means genetics. So some people, they may have smaller hypothalamus. If their hypothalamus is smaller, theory has shown that these people are prone to depression, or they're prone to less problem-solving skills, and therefore they're prone to less IQ. So IQ, although it can be boosted and improved by the environment and training, is genetic. So if we say that a person genetically is predisposed to have high IQ or have a low IQ, for example, because a Down syndrome person, by genetics, of course, the neuroplasticity, that means the ways the brain can be connected, may be affected. If a person has IQ, high IQ, that means he is a strong problem solver. That means he can find other ways or think around or outside of the box and find solutions that they're not unique. Don't confuse IQ, high IQ, with the standard IQ testing. High IQ doesn't mean that you need to perform to a good maths test or a good English test. IQ nowadays is examined with patterns, with people are identifying and trying to find solutions and find similarities in IQ tests that they're generic. They don't ask you, okay, these are the numbers 1, 3, 4, 9, what's the next number? And you, because you know your maths, you can say, okay, 4 is the square of 2, 9 is the square of 3, the next number should be 16 because it's square of 4. No, it will have like 1 dot, 2 dots, 3 dots, what's the next? This way, an IQ, high IQ, therefore neuroplasticity, can be found to a uneducated, not ever having school builder, or somebody who has dropped out of the school and he can become a billionaire, like this owner of the Virgin. My husband, for example, he hasn't even finished primary school. However, his IQ is extremely high. He can solve problems, he has learned how to build, you can give him a design of a house and he can make the house you're asking him to make without having studied architecture or mathematics to measure. All this through practical experience and trial and error. So it's another way people are learning, and that's huge. We do that all the time in mathematics, trial and error. And the answer again is this: yes, people can be genetically predisposed on the way their brain is going to work, and their neurons are going to have the plasticity and the ability to work around, but it doesn't mean that they cannot be taught how to practice. So I may have a Down syndrome child that theoretically cannot do that anything, and I can have this child with repetition and learning and one-to-one behavior able to learn very hard skills. For example, I don't know if you remember that Greek origin boy who was in our school last year, the boy with the physical and mental issues, Adriano. He was going around the school for a long time. Probably have come across to him. This boy was an excellent piano player. He was talking two languages, Greek and English, and he was an excellent maths solver. Why? Because his mum has dedicated time to one-to-one time to teach him Greek. He was talking Greek at home. Mum was teaching him piano, and he was playing songs. He loved music. He was singing songs in Greek music and English music, of course. And he was able to solve maths problems because he had learned as pictures of by heart, automatically, the timetables. So he knew the rules of by heart, memorized the rules, like the formula of an area, of a parallelogram, and he could apply it. So the boy was able to go above and beyond due to neuroplasticity. So it's in between. Again, neuroplasticity is the good thing, is what you can do because of neuroplasticity above and beyond your genetic factors. But of course, because of these genetic factors, you are starting at a lower level. If I was of high IQ and I would be able to learn piano very quickly. Adriano needed more time and more effort, but he could be there. Of course, he would never be the top end because of his genetic factors. So this is the answer. Yes, but. Question 4. Are there any other factors which may influence neuroplasticity? Food. Theory has shown that if you eat junk food and you don't have to feed your brain with excellent nutrients, vitamins, amino acids, things that come, zincs and metals, and like all these salts, mercury or potassium or whatever the brain needs, even sulfur, your pituitary gland and hypothalamus becomes shrink. The left hypothalamus becomes shrinked. That means you, in that area, in the left hypothalamus, learning and memorizing occurs. So if you don't eat good food, your left hypothalamus will be shrunk. Therefore, you won't have the ability to learn or memorize so easily. Therefore, this will affect the ability of your neurons to pass information and melanize and build more ways in your brain, the ways of your mind, as we say. Does gender influence neuroplasticity? No. I don't have anything else to answer on this. It is the way you use your brain, not the kind of gender you have. Gender is a genetic factor. So 3 and 5, they're connecting. However, the gender until now has not been proven as a reason. Having said that, women during their pregnancy, because of the nature, because of the extra and supreme quality hormones secreted to their body to cater for another child, if they have good nutrition, they can demonstrate increased fat on their buttocks and their boobies. And this increased fat in buttocks and the boobies, it is used by the brain to create more amino acids and help create better food for the brain. In that period, women indicate higher scores, like have scored higher in IQ tests. So only at this time of the life of a woman. Therefore, it's not the gender, it's what these women are going through, their hormones. The good food, the hormones that's secreted, and the extra good fat, like omega-6, omega-12, good fat nutrients, they can help to create better amino acids. I don't know if you are doing biology, but some amino acids and some DNA components to be created, they need fatty cells and fats. So, and they decompose these fats to create the components of the DNA and hormones. And growth hormones, especially they're needed for the baby. So the food is the reason, and the feeling good of the hormones a woman has during pregnancy. So if you are managing in a way to exercise and eat good food and create this, and be in love and have oxytocin and have the serotonin in your brain and have good food, then your neuroplasticity will be improved. But it's not the gender. Thank you, and I'm sorry for the huge delay.